see. What the heck? Is it live? Let me see. Okay, it is. All right, all right, all right. What? Stop. Don't do that. All right, there we go. All right. Welcome, everyone, to episode 875. Damn. That's a lot of episodes. All right. 875 of the Black Brain Trust. This is the Sapio-Males Guide to the Galaxy. Eclectic. Eclectic, yeah. We're going to talk about um, eclectic, what that attribute is, right? You know, we all either there's someone you can point to, you can say, okay, that person personally, or maybe let's just say like a creative type, right? And you say, yeah, they're eclectic, or maybe some people say that about you, right? You're eclectic. But we're gonna kind of extol the virtues, right? And kind of deep dive into eclectic. What does that mean? You know, what is so why is that maybe something that someone would want, or why would that be something that would draw someone to you, right? You being an eclectic type, having eclectic taste, for example. Um, you know, not to toot my own horn here, but I do have a really broad range of musics that I like to listen to. Um, and I've found that music, if you start with music, you know, it kind of expands into other things that you'll want to learn about other things. So, for example, like um, Japanese jazz, for example, right? That's a thing. But then, you know, as say a jazz aficionado, you get into say like these Japanese jazz groups. Oh man, I'm trying to remember a name of a couple of them, a couple of bands that are really good. But you know, you get introduced into Japanese culture as a result of your taste in music, right? And so this is kind of what leads to that whole sort of eclectic element. You might then start to adopt like, little style cues in terms of dress, for example, right? Um, so you know that's what we want to explore with this topic, um, because you know, all being told, uh, out in the field, as they say, if you have an eclectic appeal to yourself, there is going to be some sort of magnetism. I'm just my own personal experiences. We were talking about this, right? Um, you know what? I didn't even do the proper pleasantries. Um, I've been kind of tardy to the party in terms of doing live streams and stuff. Scooter business picking up, and then I had the sinus infection over the last 2 weeks. So, pardon me, you guys, and let me get my bearings together. So, here, first, let me do this. We're gonna go. Wait, shit. Hold on. Okay, we're gonna go and do. Let's see here. Welcome, everyone. Okay. My bad, you guys. All right, and then we're gonna do this right here. We're gonna go press. We'll do here if the sound- okay. All right, and if you guys could just do me a solid, right? Okay, and we got Emmanuel Briggs in the house. What's going on? Welcome, CIP. What's going on, man? Hey, we got to catch up, man. We got to catch up soon. All right, I got a 202. Perfect. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Yeah, bro. Hey, let's catch up. Let's catch up soon, man. Um, so yeah, yeah. So, this whole kind of notion or idea, right? Eclectic, you know. We don't want to confuse that with maybe say like pretentiousness, right? So when somebody's trying to be like overtly different, there is that element, and we want to stay away from that, right? We really do. We want to stay away from that. What we're talking about is, through having a broad range of interests, different types of music styles. Hold on one second. Give me one second. I see what's going on over here. There we go. Okay, that's better in my headphones. There we go. All right, so it's good for you guys. Now it's good for me. Perfect. All right. Um, through like, okay, broad range of musics, for example, right? Then let's just say like film. Film is another thing, right? Um, just I was an indie film junkie when I was doing my music thing and stuff. I was like big into indie films also. I had like a crazy indie flick DVD collection when DVDs were a thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to remember now. What was some of the Brick with what's his name? Uh Joseph Levitt something. What that guy? What his name? Um, yeah, I had like flicks like that. I had all the Wes Anderson flicks, like Rushmore and Bottle Rocket, all that shit. I was a huge like indie flick type of dude, right? Um, and look, that makes for good conversation pieces, right? Film style aesthetic, right? Wes Anderson has like a very unique eye, how he shoots movies, oftentimes how he tells stories, right? um and then you can also enjoy the comic book genre, right? The whole Marvel universe, all that shit. What the hell? Oh, okay. um that you can enjoy that genre, maybe, dramas and stuff like that. And then outside of all of that, you maybe you have an interest in, like, I don't know, hunting or some shit. And I'm saying, as one person, these are all of your interests, right? In the description, let's see here. In the description, I have the definition here, right? So eclectic, deriving ideas, style, or taste from a broad and diverse range of sources, right? So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about, you know, just, the idea of what it means to be eclectic, right? And the virtues of it. How does it benefit? How do we gain from having um like it's like a collective, or I'm sorry, an eclectic air or taste about ourselves, right? Um well, we're gonna pin those questions, right? The other thing we're gonna do is what we would typically do on these live streams. I got some quotes. I have some quotes that we're gonna read uh, from Brainy Quote. So I'm gonna pull those up, and we're gonna see what other people have had to say about eclectic or being eclectic. I don't know if eclectism. I don't know if that's really a word or a thing, but we're actually just kind of talking just the topic itself, right? Let's see here. Let's start looking for some brain trust grant proposals. You know what, man? Yeah, we may have something. We may have something, man. We got to talk, dude. Yeah, definitely. To our collective vibe, to our essence as a man. Well, we're gonna get into that, man. We're gonna see what some other people have had to say about this. Let's see. Okay, so I've got brainy quotes up here, and I'm gonna take a sip real quick, and we're gonna dig into some quotes. Give me a second. Okay, all right. We're gonna start with Tony Danza. Says, I'm an American songbook guy, though I've got eclectic taste. I really love an American songbook. I've taken up the ukulele. Oh, sorry, ukulele. That's how you're supposed to say it, you guys. It's not ukulele, it's ukulele, right? A lot of Hawaiians here in California, they'll tell you it's not ukulele, it's ukulele. I've taken up the ukulele, and so you can play 5'2" and Hawaiian music, but you can also do some great tunes. Like you go to my head, I guess I'll hang my tears out to dry and taking a chance on love. My work has been much more Caribbean and eclectic. I am interested in people and where they come from happens to have fallen within an area of Africa. Catherine Dunham. Hmm. My work has been much more Caribbean and eclectic. Okay. All right. I'm honored to have performed Kizas with Jennifer Lopez, an eclectic artist who thanks to the charismatic power of her voice and to her soft sensuality has managed to make the song particularly convincing. Andrea Bocelli. Hmm. He thinks Jennifer Lopez is eclectic? All right. Well, okay. Now that may be another thing we talk about, right? Like one's own idea of that. Jennifer Lopez. Okay. There's plenty of other female vocalists I would have thought of that are far more eclectic than Jennifer Lopez. But Jenny from the Block, right? Let's see here. I have a lot of vintage, so my style is pretty eclectic of different time periods and styles. I would describe it as comfortable, creative, and vintage. Isabel Lucas. So, so that's kind of one of those examples what I was speaking to, right? Um, her mentioning different time periods. So this is like a range, right? It's being able. So her particularly, it's I assume she's speaking to like style in terms of fashion, right? But then she also mentions different time periods. So being able to kind of move in different eras in terms of the style cues of those times, right? And really kind of make it your own. That is very much having an eclectic taste when you can kind of just jump into different time periods in terms of fashion, for example, and really kind of make it your own. There's a band of studio session hot players that play on albums. They're an eclectic bunch of misfits that I've worked with for years and years. Toby Keith. And from my understanding, I think Toby Keith passed away last week. So rest in peace to him. Hmm. An eclectic bunch of misfits. And when he's talking about theirs, when he says like studio session, like hot players, so those are guys that those are like really good musicians that you never hear about because they're not like parts of the band or they don't like tour. They're studio musicians, right? So these are guys that come in and they just bah, 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 and then they're like hired guns, for example. And so like he's referencing guys that he's done music with and played with that they're badass and you'll never know who they are, but they're very because of like who they are, right? Like they come in, they do the studio sesh, right? They're not trying to be known and all this and all that. So typically guys like that usually have a whole different thing going on, right? Whereas like Toby Keith, the guy speaking about it, he's the dude that's front facing, right, to the public. He's the one that's singing to the crowd and all that. So he's working with guys that are really just sort of like, ah, yeah, you do that, bro. What do you need? You need that hit on the floor. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, right. I would describe my aesthetic as definitely personal and harmonious with an eclectic yet bohemian sensibility. Lisa Marie Presley. Hmm. Okay. I didn't know Lisa Marie Presley had a bohemian aesthetic. Is that the case? Can you guys tell me? I didn't know. I don't know. But okay. Hmm. Well, bohemian, I would okay, so let's go here for a second, right? Because my good buddy uh, Kev's one, the cat I have the record label with and did music with for years and have done music with for years. Um, his wifey is a jewelry maker, and she's a fashion designer, and so she went to Otis, man. Like, if you guys go look up Otis School of Design, I think it's called. It's like in Marina Del Rey. I want to say, I think that's where it is. Man, that is like all your high end fashion people. That's like the designers. Like, they go to like places like Otis, right? And she went there, and very much has like a sort of, I don't want to call it gypsy, but it is sort of like gypsy Roma, bohemian aesthetic. Dare we even say tartary, right? You can kind of throw that all together. Very or orientalist, right? I'm trying to give you all the descriptors, right? And so I know what that bohemian sensibility is, because she very much has that, right? Like how their house is done and jewelry that she makes. She's made jewelry for my daughter and stuff, right? So it's like, yeah, I know what that's about. And that is very much eclectic, very much so. I just didn't know that Lisa Marie Presley was about that action, though. I have eclectic taste in the movies I want to do. Nicolas Cage. What? Are you serious, dude? Bro, you done some of the like most floppiest of floppy. Well, no, actually Nicolas Cage did do I'm trying to remember what it's called. He's like what is he, like a teacher or something? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I saw the little trailer and a review for it maybe a few weeks ago, and yeah, he's getting good reviews for it. But yeah, he's done a lot of crap too. So I guess, dude, you call crap eclectic. Let's see here. I had used eclectic therapy and behavior therapy on myself at the age of 19 to get over my fear of public speaking and of approaching young women in public. Albert Ellis. What? What the? Wait a minute. First of all, eclectic therapy? I didn't know that was a thing. Huh. We need to look that up. Eclectic therapy? And he used it to get over his fear of approaching young women. Yeah. I want to go take another shower now. Jesus Christ. Okay. Eclectic therapy. All right. Given the eclectic and constantly shifting nature of my metaphysical inclinations, I will probably never feel certain exactly what an angel is. Holy shit. Let's read this again. Given the eclectic and constantly shifting nature of my metaphysical inclinations, I will probably never feel certain exactly what an angel is. Martha Beck. let's give that one a just give me a second on that one. I'll give you guys a second too. Hold on. Given the given the eclectic and constant shifting of nature of my metaphysical inclinations. What what the fuck is a metaphysical inclination? I mean, I know what metaphysical and I know what an inclination is, but if you put the two together and then the constantly shifting nature of such, I think this chick is just crazy. I think that that's yeah, I think she's just crazy. Cause hmm, sure, right, sure, yep, okay, all right, moving right along. My taste and inspirational artists were always rather eclectic and diverse. Taylor Dayne. Okay, so Taylor Dayne is that chick. She had a hit like in the mid '80s. Tell it to my heart. Tell me I'm the only one. If this just a I'm trying to remember the words. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. That became a hit, right? It was kind of like freestylish. I'm from LA, right? So that they would play that like like in the kind of like the freestyle electro mixes, '80s LA, right? Okay, so anyway, yeah, that's Taylor Dayne, and yeah, I would say very much I'm the same way. I kind of opened up and prefaced all of this by talking about like music taste and okay. Oh, there you go. Okay. Um, talking about like music taste and sort of how, having an interest or sort of like a preference for music might then lead or lend yourself into exploring the culture of where that music originated from and all that kind of stuff, right? Then you go down like this whole sort of rabbit hole of culture and creativity and art and all that shit, right? So, but it's a good rabbit hole to go down. Make no mistake about it, right? It's a good rabbit hole. What is going on here? Uh, uh, Oh, okay. All right. Cool. 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 Okay. Yeah, it's a good rabbit hole to go down there. Hold on one second. Yo,
Hey, what up, man?
hey, what's going on, bro?
Chilling, chilling, chilling. Had to get
Okay.
had to eat a little bit before I came on, man.
Yeah, yeah. To get some get some food
Uh,
in your
yeah,
gut.
bro. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm going through the quotes right now. Um, and um, I was kind of prefacing all of this, right? Like, this whole notion or idea of like, eclectic and all that. And, typically that has to do with some sort of aesthetic, right? Like music, art intake, like what I like to call art intake, your music, your film, maybe even like your social medias, I guess, right? Your style, right? In terms of how you dress and all that, and where you draw all of these things from, right? And the outward the outward image or the outward sort of projection of that tends to give off the air of like being eclectic dependent upon the person, right? And that really has to deal with like a broad scope of inputs. And so this is what we were just getting all of this stuff going, and preface it on, right? And I was just reading quotes from other people that have had had things to say about like eclectic, right? I was just reading the quote from Taylor Dayne, right? That was kind of backing up what I was just saying, right? Like, my taste in inspirational artists were always rather eclectic and diverse. And it's same with me. I listen to all types of shit. But, then when it comes down to like what it is that, I would make in the studio and stuff like that, is very much hyper focused. But the sources came from shit, all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
well, I mean, usually from what I've seen throughout the years, eclectic, whether you're using it as an adjective or a noun, uh, people usually use it in a kind of pejorative style, kind of way, tone,
Mm,
and um, which is weird, because there's something about human nature where, on the one hand, there's something about us that likes to push the limits and like to push the envelope, if you will, and at the same time, there's also something about human nature that is centered around being sheepish too.
hmm
And so it's like that push and pull, in terms of uh, creativity, aesthetics, things like that. Like myself, like I'm a person. I love the arts. I love going to museums and
hmm
love going to symphonies and going to see ballet. I love to go see the Nutcracker. So it's just one of my things. And so um, when you're around, or when you're find yourself in spaces where people are not really ever challenged to kind of think outside of the box,
hmm
they can be very limiting in how they respond to people who have those types of interests, to the point that sometimes you will get people, like even in our group, that'll say things like, "Oh, you doing that white people shit."
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like, you know which is weird, because I mean black people create art, so it's like
I mean, it's like,
all
yeah,
forms of it.
bro.
So it's like, I mean, you got Augustus Wilson, rest in peace to him, playwrights, and things of that sort. So it's just interesting how, like I said, that tension is always there, in as far as the human condition. On the one hand, pushing the envelope, you know,
hmm
pushing the boundaries of creativity, and at the same time, um, having the human element try to reel you back in and saying you're going too far at the same time.
Well, look, I got a quote here. I'm gonna read this and let's chop it up on this one, right? Because I think it's kind of tailing off of what it is that you're talking about. Okay. I like the idea of an eclectic approach, incorporating jazz with other forms and other genres of music. Herbie Hancock. Now, what he's speaking to is an eclectic approach, right? So, not necessarily kind of having the presentation or the, um, I don't know, like kind of like that, that this isn't something that you're wearing, but what say you about taking an eclectic approach to something?
Mm, um, I think that it's interesting because there's a movie by Spike Lee that I love this movie, Mo Better Blues,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that kind of to me kind of speaks to that, because in the movie, there was that push and pull between Wesley Snipes' character and Denzel's character,
hmm
and how Denzel's character wanted to push the envelope. He wanted to push the boundaries and show the people, the fan base, something new that he thought that they would be ready for.
hmm
And Wesley Snipes was the opposite. He was like, nah, let's just keep giving them what they've been wanting.
hmm
And so, thankfully, there are people who are willing to push those boundaries. Like, to me, what Hancock is saying, seems like he's going into it like more from an unorthodox way of thinking. He's not going into making the music um, really following rules. He's just going to it in terms of creativity. Basically marching to the beat of his own drum. So, um, but it's like, again, it's that, in the realm of creativity, it's hostile too.
Hmm.
It's not just people just, hey, we're just gonna create. Like, there's a lot of hostility that can be fomented in the realm of creativity. I mean, we see it in business. I mean, all the stories we've heard, people in business, getting into it and fighting, and to bring that product to the fore. So it's it's just one of those things that I guess is just baked in the cake. It just comes with the process, because there's just going to be some people who are just going to have or try to put those limitations on your way of thinking. And I think what he's saying is he doesn't want to approach it with those limitations on his thinking.
Yeah, well, the perfect example what he's talking about, and this is something that always, like, literally, what made me a Herbie Hancock fan was Rocket. Yeah, I don't know if you remember the joint Rocket, but in the video of Rocket, this was Herbie basically, and I want to say, was it Grandmaster Flash who did the cuts? I'm trying to remember who did the cuts on that song, but it was like him. He produced a hip hop track, Rocket, and I think it was Grandmaster Flash who did the cuts. I might have that off. I'm trying to remember who that was, but like in the video, dude, he had fucking automata in the shit, like mechanical robots and
I
shit.
think I remember. I
If you
think I
remember the
remember
video,
that.
like,
I
dude,
think
like,
I remember that.
yo, like that fucked me up, dude. I remember like that video like clear as day. Like I can, like, I'm in my head right now. It's like when I was a kid watching it on MTV back in like 1984 and shit, right? And so like him saying that, reading that quote, and then me thinking back to like that joint Rocket and that
Hmm.
video that they made at the time, and I can understand why he would say something like that. I'm like, because there's proof of him like literally putting that in practice.
Hmm.
Like, dude, I didn't see no shit like that. And dude, there's never been any other like video or rap joint that was like that. That's why like that joint Rocket, it's a hip hop, it's like a low key hip hop classic. It really is.
Yeah, I think I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, Herbie Hancock. Yep. All right, I got another one here, man. My style is kind of eclectic, and I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. I like to have fun and explore myself, so you won't see the same design. Venus Williams.
Hmm. Interesting.
What do you say about that?
Again, man, it's that approach to the thinking of creativity is, it's, you know the creativity is all bound up in the notion of not having limitations placed on you. So I mean, you're literally, when you create, you're creating something that's not there, that's not been there before, and so again, because I think with her and her sister, I think they kind of into fashion and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
um and so I mean, again, which is, it's funny, man, because on the one hand, like, you have that limitation of people, but at the same time, when we see the world and how people embrace creativity through buying, we see that people know how to tap into something inside of people that will make them respond in a way to the point that they're willing to spend money on it.
Hmm.
So again, like, for me, is really looking at that, and obviously, we know about, their father, and how he was all, he's all about, like, was not about, like, placing any limitations on them as well. So that to me is just a more of a representation of the kind of upbringing that they had to see themselves, to be able to see themselves. he was able to see themselves as being something that we really had never seen in tennis. And so to me, it's just like she was just extending that
Hmm.
thought process, in her own sphere, of influence in her own personal world. So it
Yeah,
just
it
makes
was.
sense just coming from that background.
Yeah, it was like, they, because they stood out so much, right? Then it was sort of like that was then their own sort of personal kind of signature,
Hmm.
right, on
Right.
that standing out, right? Both her and Serena, they had their own ways of doing that,
Hmm.
right?
I mean, you
Venus
get,
was Yeah, Venus was a lot more loud with it.
yeah. I mean, you, he gave them so much confidence, man, that um, Venus was the one that pushed for the equal pay in tennis
Hmm.
as far as the prize money. Like, no, I mean, nobody had ever had the courage to really stand up like that. So, as much as people like, would try to malign Richard Williams, I mean, he instilled something in them to make them reach for something that a lot of people say they couldn't touch. So, it only makes sense that in other endeavors she would take that same approach in terms of like not having those limitations
Hmm.
placed on her, because he will not allow anybody to place those limitations on her and her sister, nor would he be the one to place limitations on them as well. So
I mean,
um
I'm gonna tell you like this too, man. Back then, like the hood had their back too.
yeah,
You know what I'm
definitely.
saying? So it was like, man, I remember, dude, like like motherfuckers used to just like guard like the fucking like Compton. I'm trying to remember the tennis courts where they used to play at,
Hmm.
but it was just like, nigga, when they was practicing, wasn't nothing popping off, right? And
Yeah.
so I think also, man, just like knowing that they had not only it was they pops, but everybody around them, dude, they was like, no, y'all gonna get it in.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
y'all gonna make it. Like fuck that shit. Y'all gonna get it for yourselves, for your pops, nigga, for the hood, all that
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. It was something that even when they first came on the scene, with their beads and stuff like that. That was, this was not seen, and so
Hmm.
it was a creative expression, and even when they first started, popping off, like when I was in high school, in Georgia, in Atlanta, it was like, seeing two young sisters do their thing, like it was inspiring. Like we was rooting
Hmm.
for them. Like it was, it wasn't no hating or anything like that. It was different. Like, we respect. Coming from hip hop culture, you already know what we on. So,
Yeah, exactly.
seeing something different on the national scene, for us, was like, something to be proud of, because it was like, they did it their way, and that's art.
Exactly.
That's really what it
Exactly.
was. Like, it's art. So that's the name of the game.
Yep. All right. Let's see. I got another one here. Let's see. I mean, I think that Blondie's influence is a little bit, in a way, more eclectic than those bands. Debbie Harry. Okay. All right. Blondie. Are you familiar with Blondie?
I've heard of them, but I'm not familiar with the music.
Step into a world.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Blondie. Yeah. Yeah. Fab Five Freddy. Yeah. You know that. Yeah. So Blondie, man. So number one, first of all, man, I'm a huge Blondie fan. Right. This is just more proof of my own eclectic music taste. Right. I'm a huge Blondie fan. I literally have like, well, let me see. I think it's like let me see. Shit. The names are escaping at the moment, but I do have like their first two or first, I think it's first two albums. I have the original pressings on vinyl. I got them. Um, huge, dude. Blondie was like, let's see. So I think, let's see, Debbie Harry. I want to say she's actually also a Zulu member,
Mm.
Zulu Nation. Her and Adam Ant. Right. So So back in like the late 70s, early 80s and shit, in like that sort of like that New York scene, there was a lot of convergence, right? There was a lot of convergence, like the sort of like the Hell's Kitchen punk scene. Yeah, the graffiti art scene. You had you know there was like this melting pot. We had it in LA as well. It's not as documented as it is in New York, but like Debbie Harry and groups like Blondie and shit like that, they kind of represent that, right? I would say another more familiar um uh 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 representation of what we're talking about here in terms of like say like a Blondie type of group, because remember like in that joint Step Into a World, um she busts a rap, she kicks a whole 16,
Hmm.
right? Debbie Harry, dude. Like it was really kind of like funk driven, dude. It was like there's a whole break. I'm trying to remember who sampled it. There's a bunch of people that didn't sample the shit. You know what I'm saying? But see, in the original recording, like, dude, it's got a funk break. It's funk driven, and she fucking busts. She's doing like some basically some R&B shit, and then busts a rap. And that was in '82, I think that's when that joint
Yeah,
came out.
KRS, I think KRS-One sampled that.
Yeah, that's right. Karis One.
Oh
That's
my
right.
god, that song
He
was
did the
so
joint for
dope.
he did the joint for was it off of I Got Next?
I got
The
yeah,
I Got
yeah,
Next album.
yep,
Right? Yeah, that's right. Karis One
yep,
sampled it.
yep.
Okay.
Dope.
So
Dope track.
I'm just saying, dude, like you can see the correlation there. And I was gonna say, like, the Beastie Boys was like another kind of sort of like representation of what like Blondie was in some strange ways, right? Both of them being from New York, both of them having sort of like a punk rock origin, right? Having a punk and a rock origin, and then incorporating like elements of funk and and what was the hip hop shit at the time, and then their music like basically maturated and became this sort of like what do you call it? Right? Like dude, there were I remember there was arguments as to whether like Beastie Boys was actually hip hop or not. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I was like, go listen to Paul's Boutique and then you tell me if it's hip hop or not. Well, because by the way, Paul's Boutique is one of my favorite albums. I'm like, what the hell? The thing about it is that, dude, they drew so much inspiration from their music and like how they produce shit, the samples and all that, from so much different shit. Oftentimes, people didn't know what to call it.
That
They
was
said, no,
dope, man.
yeah, this shit was rap. It's hip hop.
I love Beastie Boys, man.
Yeah,
Rest in
Beasties
peace,
was,
old boy, man.
yeah, yeah, man. So it's like, um, I, again, I think sometimes, well, I don't want to say sometimes. I'm saying like we usually when we're talking about like eclectic in terms of just like the aspect of you know being the representation of a broad range of interests and stuff like that. It usually typically starts with music. It's going to usually start with your art intake, your
Mhm.
music, the film, the type of things that you watch in terms of like content or you listen to, right? Then from there, it's usually going to be like style, right? Your appearance, and then where a lot of that stuff is derived from. Then that becomes like the culture. Then what that leads into the shit we got to do a live stream on food, right? For example,
Mhm.
food and shit like that, right? And so
Oh
that's
yeah, man. I mean,
yeah,
you talking
like
about
these
come on, man.
this is what lends to what I guess it means to be eclectic, right? I'm trying to
Yeah.
really kind of deep dive and really kind of, or not deep dive, but more or less just parse out what that actually is, right? A lot of people can just say, "Oh yeah, I'm eclectic," because they just go buy a bunch of like crazy ass clothes and put it on and get in the mirror and they think it looks nice, and then all of a sudden they're eclectic, and it's like,
Yo, let me
no,
tell you something, bro.
what?
Yo, man, when you brought up the food, it made me think about my homie, man. I used to rap with from the Shy, man. The first time, man, he had a smoothie from Smoothie King, and so we was in undergrad, and I was like, yo, I'm about to go to the Smoothie King, man. So he was behind me when I said it, so I knew he got quiet because he didn't respond. So I turned around, I was like, what's up, man? He was like, Smoothie King. I said, yeah. I said, you ain't never been to Smoothie King? He was like, nah. I said, what?
Wait,
He
Smoothie
said,
King? I
yeah.
think I've heard of a Smoothie King before.
But he had never had a smoothie, period.
Wait, like
So
just at all?
at all. You know what I'm
God
saying?
damn.
So
Where what kind of rock was he living under?
so
Jesus.
so I was like, man, yo, I said, man, my treat, man. I said, let's go, man. So we went, man. I got what I usually get. He got the same thing. So I'm, I'm drinking mine. So I said something to him. He was quiet. So I turned around, I was like, what's up? He looked at me, he was like, good as fuck, son. That shit was funny as hell.
It reminds me of like this fucking video I saw where this little girl, this dude, like he gave his daughter a French fry, and then he was like, try the ketchup, and she was like scared as shit. She was like, I don't know what that is, right? And he was just like, just try it, And so he dips just a little bit of the French fry in the ketchup, and he gives it to her, dude, and she eats the shit. And bro, like it's the way her fucking face changes.
That's how my dude was.
That's what I was like.
That's how my dude was, bro. That shit was the yo. I wish I could have videotaped the whole encounter. It was so funny, bro. Like it was like, dang, like he was like, man, I ain't gonna lie, man. When you said smoothie, he was like, man, I thought that. He said, man, I thought that was some white folks shit.
Yo, when you told
Dude,
me that,
I'm talking about on some smoothie, bro.
Yo, that
but you know what's so funny?
me.
You know what's so funny though? When I was in high school, dude, they used to be in the gym with us, hooping, playing ball with us, man. We used to think he was messing with one of the teachers up there. So when he said one day, he was like, man, I want to go to Smoothie King. We all looked at him like, what? It was like the same kind of thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we had never had, none of us had ever had a smoothie at that time. You know what I'm saying? But that was back then, though. That was like when it was first coming on the scene type of thing. So,
yeah,
it just wasn't something we was looking forward to. We was like milkshakes, like, that's what it was. Like, we hadn't really never even heard of it like that. So when we heard him on it, like, because he was from the hood, like, we're like, smoothie, like, what? You know what I'm saying? So, but, being an undergrad, being, young adults, it was different. It was like, I'm looking at my boy like, what? You ain't never had a smoothie? But I understood where he came from because I remember how we were like that, when one of our dudes had said the same thing, man. But it was funny, man. It was hilarious, man.
yeah.
But
It'd be like saying like, yo, a wheatgrass shot or some shit. Yo, I'm gonna go get a wheatgrass shot. Yo, y'all want one?
Right. Like, what the fuck? Like
the hell? This nigga said a wheatgrass shot?
Yeah, man. But food, is one of those things that can be, depending on who's eating or taking in what, like it can be looked upon as something that's eclectic, even from the perspective of something, like from a racial perspective, like man, you want some white folks shit? Like, what you talking about? Like, it's just weird, like
See,
how pushing
that's
boundaries,
the
man, is
shit
just
that
really. It really can really. It's that tension, man. It's really is that, in group think, and one person decides to step outside the boundaries, and it unsettles other people, man, and they try to bring you back in, to the fold, because you're supposed to be like us, and you ain't supposed to be interested in that kind of stuff. And why you listening to that music, man? That's some white people, like, well, that's crazy.
But see, that literally goes against like what the notion of the idea of eclectic, or being eclectic, right? As the adjective suggests, right? What that is. And so that's kind of where and I guess maybe that's maybe like another angle of this conversation, right? That we throw out here, right? So what when if because I think that I'm not sure if one actually purposely sets out to become that. I think that
Mhm.
if you purposely set out to become that, it comes off as a bit contrived. It's not true, right? It doesn't really kind of ring true, right?
Mhm.
I think if you just have a general interest in things, then you'll pursue it, and it'll come out as such, right?
Mhm.
So it's sort of like, okay, there's that part, and then there's how people sort of like see you as a result of that, and particularly within Black culture, because I want to say there was a comment that CRP said. Let me see. Let me see if I can find that comment that he said, because it was speaking of what you were talking about, dude. Basically, the whole notion of the idea that there's like there's sort of like a cultural approval, like the Black
Mhm.
people approval of like what is acceptable for you to
Mhm.
be engaging in, right? And then there's the shaming if it's outside of those boundaries.
Mhm.
You get what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I think that's something that we deal with internally in terms of Black culture, right? Like what is what is acceptable? What is eclectically acceptable? if that's a if that's a way to
Mhm.
put it, right? What is like, okay, within the scope of Black culture, right? If you're going to be eclectic, what what's the acceptable range for that, right? Where as a greater scope of Black culture, they go, oh yeah, that's fine.
Well,
But see,
I think a larger question is because one of my homegirls from college, man, she sent me some artwork of her daughters. Now, mind you, she's 16.
mhm,
So, like, when she sent me this artwork, I was like, I was blown away. I was like, what in the, like, wow. So, and at 16, she has like, she has adults who are commissioning work from her at
mhm,
16.
mhm,
So but what if she was in a family that was like, oh, art is such and such and such, you don't need to pay attention to that. You need to be in school. You need to focus on this and blah blah blah. So there are a lot of people's dreams that could be diminished and squelched just because the limitations that the people that they're around, make them feel guilty for wanting to, see something in a different light and expand upon it. So
mhm.
it could really be dangerous. You know, I remember watching the Dead Poet Society movie years ago, and that was
Okay,
a big theme of that particular movie where the dude's father kept coming down hard on him because he wanted him to just focus on the books, but he was really interested in theater, and that was his thing. He really had found something that he really gravitated to, and he just kept coming down on him so hard to the point that he took himself out. And but it really does have like, I mean, it's a lot of danger that can really be, you know when you look upon somebody as um eclectic, and then you force your views of how you see the world on them to get them in line, because you feel you might, because I think there's some of a feeling of threat that a lot of
hmm
people take upon, because for whatever reason. And so I think that it does, like, it does, creativity does kind of spark fear in people, whether
well,
we admit it or not, but I think it does.
because the reason why it does it, I see. I'll tell you what, because I know exactly what you're talking about. The reason why it does it is because there's a fear of change, anytime somebody comes onto the scene and starts thinking about something differently, right? The old guard, um, basically they perk up, right? Or let's just say that those practitioners of the old way don't want things to be disturbed, right? So you come along, and because you have like these collection of ideas, and because you can synthesize a problem or the solution to a problem based on a multitude of sources, right? Because you have like sort of like an what Herbie Hancock was saying, an eclectic approach. So you're drawing from a multitude of sources, right, to kind of hone in on a solution to say like a singular problem, right? And because you're able to do that, you might be taking some people up out the frame as a result of this, right? Because now we're what we're talking about is like instituting a heightened level of efficiency, for example, right? So you come in and you say, well, look, if you just do A, B, and C, if you just do it this way, you're gonna eliminate this, this, and this, and you're gonna save 20 to 30% per year on your maintenance costs, and you're gonna save this and this and this and this and this, right? And so what happens is that on the one hand, you have somebody who says, okay, well, I'm going to save this and I'm going to do this and this, and my bottom line is going to look much better, right? But what happens as a result of that? Somebody's losing out.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I'm
when you
saying?
look at somebody like Steve Jobs, for example, I think he's a perfect example of somebody who pushed the boundaries, obviously.
Oh shit! We talked about this. Remember?
Yeah, I mean,
You want to talk about how much he fucking? I don't mean to
yes.
cut you off. Let me just say this. I'm gonna do you one better. How you said Steve Jobs pushed the boundaries? Okay, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna step away and use the restroom. But check this out. He pushed the boundaries so much that let's just say some people took him out. Go ahead. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I mean, he,
You know how I feel about that shit.
I mean, well, I wouldn't put it past anybody because of somebody of his caliber. I mean, he was a threat to an existing order in
I
terms of how
told you
he thought.
what he did.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the music shit. Okay,
Yeah, so what I'm
I'll be
saying
right
is,
back. Go ahead.
but what I'm saying is, like, just in terms of just creativity, like his just being so far ahead of his time on certain things, you know, when you come into an existing order of things, like, coming with the stuff that he was coming with can really create an environment, not because this person is wrong, but because the people are not really ready for that change. And that's really where the tension really comes in from. And so, it's you really do have to question, like, do you really want that? Because, like they say, man, the price of success is loneliness. So are you really prepared for that lonely world if you decide to go against the grain? And some people are prepared for it. Some people are built for it. I think, with somebody like him, for example, who was adopted, I think twice, I think he was already used to that world of that loneliness. So I think that experience actually emboldened him to just go beyond just because of the kind of circumstances in which he came up in. But it's something that people really have to, really take into, consideration, because sometimes, man, like, your eclectic, side or way of being could even have you even going against your own parents, like, Cat Williams was talking about, when he was coming up in his, father's household, to the point where he left home at 13. So, creativity, it does have drawbacks. It's not to say that you shouldn't be creative, but it's not just, hey, I'm creating and the world is hunky dory. Like, nah, It's a lot that comes with being creative and, you know, somewhat considered an eclectic uh, personality, which a lot of times is just really, you know, really a creative person that just really a lot of times is misunderstood. But
Satan, you lost, lost, lost.
it's hard to really
You at the cross.
um,
You're defeated, Satan. You've been beaten, beaten, beaten.
it's hard to in this world where many humans just operate like sheep. It really is difficult to
You
march
lost.
to the beat of your own drum.
Remind
It
us
doesn't matter what group you're a part of. It's just a human condition.
of Calvary.
Especially when people think that you have a certain life that is laid out for you, or that you should um, live or lead. I know hip hop generation like us, like I mean, we're known for pushing back against the grain. Like I mean, that's just I mean that's what we're known for. Like so, you know, we don't, you know, a lot of us don't really care like how people respond to that because that's just the way we're built. But typically, you know, I mean, that's the reason why you know hip hop music was many parents didn't want their children listening to hip hop music because it was pushing back against a lot of that authoritative stuff.
Oh,
Um, yeah, people, you know, the fight the power and all that type of stuff. Like people were really scared of that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? At the police and all that. Like people
mhm.
were really scared of that type of stuff because it was a young generation that was just like, yo, man, we tired of all this nonsense. Like we ain't trying to hear none of it. So, like, you know, and anybody that knows about NWA and all that type of stuff, like, yo, hey, it wasn't like it was just like, oh, we just making music. Like, nah, they both folks was watching them and yo, like what they doing? Like it was fear there. It was, I mean, real fear, you know, from a
What are
lot of
you?
people, man.
What are you? What were you? Because I stepped away. What are
No,
you
I
just
was talking about like, you know, how creativity is not just like you just being creative and it's just hunky dory and it's everything is all good. Like, no, there's danger in creativity too. Like there's danger in being a
Oh yeah,
creative
yeah, yeah, yeah.
person.
No, it's
Yeah,
you can get ostracized.
yeah.
You know, I mean that's kind of like when you get in that whole that whole creative thing, right? Yeah, you know, so like you know, okay, so hip hop always had its, and I'll tell you right now, if you just want proof of it, just look at my handwriting, dude. It's hella graffiti uh inspired, let's just say, right? Mike V is the same way. You know, so there was ways of being disruptive without the notoriety. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like there was, it's like if what you're there was the thing about hip hop was is that like there was always a method to the madness,
Hmm.
right? Even if it came to like disruption, right? Like right about now, like you know your most famous street artist is Banksy, you know, going around and I don't know, seemingly, you know, the dude's able to like do these art installations that get the media talking, right? Because what he's doing is he's kind of speaking to something going on, a current event, and you know, and the visual aesthetic, what people see, is what gets the media talking, and you know. I'm trying to remember who said it, but they basically defined art. Okay, well, art has a definition, right? Based on the Merriam-Webster definition dictionary, I believe it's uh, i- anything a creation of the something. Okay, a creation of the imagination, right? That's human made. Okay, that's essentially what the definition of what art is, right? Another definition that I heard for art is the art is the true definition of time. And the whole sort of notion of that is that people they okay, art is what defines time for them, for people, right? Think about it, like with like so for example, like, let's talk about music, right? Because music is a very benign thing, and it keeps reoccurring in in this conversation, this live stream, right? So let's just stick with music, right? So you have what's called old school,
Mm,
right? Now old school, in terms of what it is, changes over time,
mm,
right? And it changes based on the progression of time. So I remember when I was younger, old school was like blues. It was like what my grandmother used to listen to and shit. All
mm,
that, all that down home blues type shit. I'm trying to remember, like Johnny Taylor, and
yeah.
I'm trying to remember who else she used to listen to. So when I was a kid, that was old school, right? And see, so when I was a kid, that was old school. And then the new shit, because I had an older brother, and so when my older brother, nigga, that was all that freestyle shit. Taylor Dayne, we had just talked about, we read a quote from her just a little while ago, right? So all that era, that was new at the time, right? Now, if we fast forward to today, if I'm listening to quote unquote old school radio, guess who's playing? Taylor Dayne,
Mm,
right? So old school, in terms of like, you know, the sound aesthetic, it changes. You know, to
mm,
my daughter, the 2000s R&B and B and all that, Ashanti and all that kind of shit, that's old school to her. See, to me, it sounds still relatively new. I wouldn't quite call it old school just yet. You know what I'm saying? But to her, it's old school, right? So it's like art, in all actuality, defines time for people. It's not the other way around.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? And that was a pretty deep um idea to consider, right? That time is just a measurement, it's a tool. But what really defines time for people is art, movies, you know what I'm saying? Fashion, again, 80s style clothing. Dude, let's not start talking about kicks.
yes.
You get what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I always, look at it like, you know, taking you back to something that just relates to your essence of who you are.
Hmm.
You know, um, like I'll hear a track and it takes me back to the days when I was young, 15, 16, riding the MARTA train in Atlanta, you know, 96 summer,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Olympic summer, like something that just takes me back. I could listen to something that could just take me back to like, man, I remember just
Boom.
being on the train, just writing
Yep.
rhymes in my notebook, man, listening to
Yep.
this, stuff like that, man. So it gives you that, it is kind of like a snapshot of time. Like
Hmm.
it truly is.
Yep.
From that particular perspective, even like you said with clothing, like you see certain things, it's like, dang, like I remember back in the day, man, we used to rock this, man.
You
Like,
rock this with them kicks.
yeah,
See, usually it's shoes, because these shoes like kicks and shit, they be re-releasing them joints, right?
right,
Now, maybe like the clothing styles of that time, not so much, right? Because everybody's rocking different types of fits and stuff. But
mm,
see, the shoe game is always going to be the same, right?
mm-hmm,
So, like the shoe game is also like a snapshot, like you said.
mm,
It's like a snapshot of that time. So it's like it's physical things. It's the design, the creativity that actually define the time. It's not the time itself. It's not
mm-hmm,
right? It's not the fucking date on the calendar or something. There's a live stream. I'm not a live stream. There's a video on YouTube, and it's called what is it called? I think it was like uh I don't man, okay. Something to the effect of like sort of like the futurist aesthetic, right? So if
Mm,
you recall maybe like around 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, that around that time period, um there was a lot of like futuristic notions, right? There's a lot of futurism in the cultural aesthetic. The movie The Matrix was coming out. I remember the movie
mm.
Dark City, Blade,
What was the other movie with
um,
Jessica Alba? What was that movie?
shit, I know what you're talking about.
Man, what's the name of that movie, bro?
Uh,
Right on the tip of my goddamn tongue, man.
you had that. Do you
Mm-hmm.
do you, do you remember all like the Missy Elliott rap videos and shit? You know what I'm saying? Busta Rhymes,
Oh
like a lot of
man,
like like
Buster.
like like dude, like that whole
Mm.
art aesthetic of that
Yeah,
time.
I think Missy was kind of inspired by Buster, man, because she was
Well, it
kind of
was. I think they was both, dude. They were both because look, remember that was Hype Williams doing all that shit.
yeah.
Yeah, that was Hype Williams doing all those videos and stuff at that time. And it was like remember like they used to have like the kind of like the that kind of like the how do you describe it? It was sort of like fisheye lens, sort of glossy, kind of bubble
Mm-hmm.
spacesuit looking type
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic with the goggle type shit.
Puffy suits.
Yeah, but it was like what they were.
Mm-hmm.
It was sort of like a swagger like a swagadocious fucking like spacesuit type shit though. Not just on some because remember like Mary J was rocking that shit.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
all of when you think back to that time period, it had a very forward future forward sort of appeal to it. And then yeah, they kind of deaded it for like the whole sort of like, thought culture shit. you
Mm-hmm.
know, so I don't know why, well, I don't know, corporate black culture decided to regress.
Oh yeah, Mr. Me Too said AT aliens. Absolutely,
AT
absolutely,
aliens, boom. There we go,
absolutely.
right there. That yeah, there you go. Like the whole steez, man, when you really think back, right?
Man, they had a dope video, man. Off that AT aliens album, man. I love that video, man. I love the song too. It went like throw your hands in the air and wave them like you
Oh, you
just
talking
don't
about
care. God,
what
that
you
was my
call
shit
it?
right there.
What's that called? That joint was called
Oh, that was my shit right there.
yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of that joint. Yeah, that's that was like a that was a that's a
That was a
West,
very,
West
very
Coast
futuristic
mainstay
type
out here.
video. Oh my
Yeah,
god, that was so dope. That video was dope, man. I love that. I love that video. I love the song.
yeah. I mean, but just when you really think about it, though, man, like we used to really have more, even from a mainstream standpoint. Like we had more of an eclectic appeal
Hmm.
back then, more so than you like today, man. Like think about the conversation that's being largely driven on social media nowadays, right? It's like it's all this, you know, Suki Hana this and this sexy red this and right because I guess chicks are running the rap game nowadays, right? We always been some underground niggas, so you already know where we at with it. The real shit is over here, but you know,
Well, that's not. I mean, they're trying to push that, but I mean, at the end of the day, that ain't that stuff ain't making no money. Like that's plant type stuff.
I mean
Like,
I mean, because
Like
well, here's the
so.
thing, man. Nobody's actually buying like music anymore, right? Like, I would dare say, I would argue, and, we talked about this on the phone and shit. It's like there's certain ways nowadays where you're gonna make your money making music, and it's not gonna be in like quote, and I'm throwing this in air quotes, sales, right? Because no one buys music like that unless you're literally pressing it on like vinyl and stuff like that. I don't know of too many people that are literally just buying downloaded songs at this point when everything is
Yeah,
just
I don't see it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I
yeah.
keep saying like it needs to be attached to some type of content, man. Because I don't see I don't see it's all I think it's just I don't know what it is, man. I think that in our world, I just think that we deal with a very fickle consumer base in general. And so because when we were coming up, like me, you had people like EPMD that was, they had songs about like crossing over, like not going mainstream.
Hmm.
Like so there was this thing back then where like you were considered like basically selling out if you went mainstream.
Hmm.
So and it's like, on the one hand, you wanted to be successful, but at the same time, it's like, but at what cost? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying hip hop is not any different than any other genre because I'm sure they pushed the same kind of stuff in other genres, but I just think hip hop is different because the very nature of hip hop was going
Right.
against the system. So by the very nature of it, like you know like if you being true to yourself and you like for example like somebody like DMX, he was commercially successful, rest in peace to the god. He was commercially successful, but he was himself though. It wasn't nothing like generic or anything like that. Like he was X, and that's just what it was. So he just happened to be able to be commercially successful during his reign, man. But I just think that I think like with hip hop, man, I think there does need to be an evolution in terms of how it's delivered because I think the current way that it's delivered is just stale. Like it's a stale model, and I
When
think
you
it needs
say
to go beyond it.
when you say deliver, like what do you mean by that?
I'm talking about in terms of deliver the delivery of the content. Like if you're like you can't like we're in the age where there's so much different forms of technology. Like it's just not really feasible the way it used to be. How like when you was doing your thing to just push it from that particular model because there's just too many things you're up against to
Hmm.
really to be successful on that particular end. I think it needs to be attached to something, some other type of content. We talked about this behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
I
So
was gonna say yeah that I think the model now, especially because like I said, no one buys music. So the model now, I guess you could say from a passive standpoint, is at the very basis is streaming,
mhm,
right? So it's basically you're getting paid on your music being streamed
mhm,
or being however that goes. That's going to be like the base model on how you're going to get paid. It's paid for play, right? And then there's value add, right? So what do you do to increase the value of that play, right? Do you have some sort of cool animated video, for example, or just a music video that goes along with that? Do you have some merch? Do you have, like you said, are you doing some sort of limited run where you're like, oh yeah, for this, our single, we're gonna, you know, 100 cassette tape. copies, right? Because let me tell you something. When you do shit like that, you'll sell out of that 100 cassette tapes easy, real quick, right? We're only gonna do a limited run. You know, we're gonna do
Yeah.
200, you know, 200, and you sell what, 200, sell them for $10 a pop. What's that? $2,000, something, or how whatever the fucking the numbers on that is. But you know, it's like you could do that value add part of it,
Mhm.
right? You know, like different types of maybe like limited run shirts that are associated with a project. So that's how there's the value add portion, right? That you stack on top of that streaming, the just what you're gonna get from streaming, because bare minimum, if anything, that's what you're gonna make. Because literally, no one's buying MP3s. When was the last? Who's buying an MP3 nowadays?
Mm,
An
yeah,
MP3.
I mean, not really.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's why the streaming is such a big deal. With regards to artists and how they're being paid for like the stuff that the music that's being listened to, because the majority of people are just streaming shit. They're streaming the songs. So if that's the case, it's no different than like if you drop the single and your shit's getting played on the radio, you want to get paid for that. Like, look, even if for whatever reason it's not really selling in the stores or whatever, but for whatever reason on the radio, yeah, everybody's like requesting the song or whatever, right? You got to get paid royalties off of those plays, right?
Mm.
Streaming works the same way. So the whole thing is that in lieu of people actually buying things, artists want the most they can, as much as they can get off of streaming. I would say though, if you really gave a shit about your art like that, you would build value adds into your stuff. You wouldn't make it just simply like, oh, you know what, you know, I'm trending on TikTok and all this other shit, so I should be getting paid this much per stream, per play or whatever. Man, fuck all that, dude. It's like throw some value add into your shit. Press your shit up on vinyl if it's the bomb like that. Watch you like sell out in like 2 or 3 days if it's the bomb like that.
Mm. Yeah, something, man. I mean, 'cause like we talked about this before, man. It's like so many artists have just really gone unnoticed. That's so dope.
Mm-hmm.
It's just ridiculous. Like, I mean, you can throw on certain artists, it could be, let's say it's like a 28-year-old, 30-year-old, and you could put on something and they'd be like, man, yo, who is that? And it's like, because I watch, it's this one channel I watch, this young cat, he does responses to songs, like, because I've seen him do response. I sent it to you where he did a response to
Oh
Pete
yeah,
Rock's album. So,
mm-hmm.
and he had did another joint where he responded to it, and Tragedy was on the song. No, he was doing a response to CNN War Report.
Okay,
and
yeah, good.
So, and he was just listening, and he was just like, yo, man, who is this dude? Tragedy, man, he is just cold. Like, and I'm like, this dude been in the game since the 80s. He's like one of the
Tragedy,
dude,
dude,
like
tragedy,
historically.
Tragedy Gaddafi, for those of y'all that don't know,
Oh my
that
God.
is intelligent hoodlum
Intelligent
and,
hoodlum, yeah. Juice
intelligent
Crew.
hoodlum juice and that is LL Cool J's cousin. For those of
Ghost,
y'all that don't know.
That's Ghostface cousin too.
Okay, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tragedy Gaddafi.
Yeah. I mean, one of the coldest cats, man. I mean, discography. I mean, Thug Matrix. I mean,
Oh, that's
bruh.
weird.
Still reporting. I mean,
Wait, dude,
come,
like when he was intelligent, this thing, what he had a joint called Arrest the President.
yeah. I mean, just all
This thing
type of
had a
stuff,
joint
man.
called Arrest the President. Oh,
Right.
damn.
You know, just going hard, man. I mean, because he was just
Yeah.
like, yo. I mean, it was just funny just to see him like listen for the first time and have the same reaction like we was having back in the day, like when we was hearing the stuff for the first time, like, yo, man, like, damn, like, because he was like, yo, man, who is this dude? Trent? He's like, yo, everything he getting on, he just eating it up. Because he was like, yo, is this his album? Because man, the way he pushing, like, he like, damn, it seems like it's his album. And it was just like, man, like, I'm like, dude, like he one of the greatest, man. Like he is top notch. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
you know, like he's just one of the, like as far as like that kind of genre, like just hard, just ridiculous. So, and I remember one time I was listening to his I was I was listening to his one of his albums, and it had a chick on the hook, and my shorty heard the song, and she was like, man, what's that song you was playing? And I was like, what you talking about? She's like, when you had it on, when you had your on your phone playing loud. I was like, oh, that was Tragedy. She was like, send me that song. Like, 'cause she liked it. Like, man, that's dope. You know what
You
I'm
know
saying?
what?
So
The other joint that it just hit me. Grand Groove.
Grand Groove, yeah.
Grand Groove, yeah. That's the other one. I don't know. Arrest the President jumped out to me at first, but Grand Groove, that's the joint right there.
Yeah. He got a song with Cameron RZA
Killer.
called World War III. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, I think I remember that joint.
Woo, man. When I first heard that joint, I was like, because I mean, RZA, he just lights that shit up. Like, oh my gosh. Like, when RZA catches that flow, man, and he is retarded lyrically. Like when he's on it, like, you just be like, what the fuck is this dude? Like, for real. Like, he otherworldly, bro. Like, for real. Like,
I gotta send you I gotta send you the new Rock Marciano and Thelonious Coltrane shit. Bro, that shit bangs so fucking hard, dog. Oh my god, dude, it bangs so hard. Like,
yeah,
it just dropped like just this past week, dude. I'll send it to you.
yeah, man. I'm
Mm,
I like banging
yeah.
beats and lyrics, man. I don't
Yeah,
like if
yeah.
it
That's
gotta
what I'm
be
saying.
that, bro. If it
You
ain't
gonna
that,
fuck with this. You gonna fuck with this, dude. I'm
I
telling you,
just can't.
you gonna fuck with
I can't touch it, bro. You know what I'm saying?
no,
But
you gonna fuck with this one, dog. Trust me on this one. I was like, Zam, bro, Rock Marciano. That's the king of New York right now. He get my vote. King of New York, Rock Marciano.
yeah, he been pumping hard, boy.
That bro go hard, dude. That dude goes so hard. This shit with Thelonious Coltrane. Oh my god, on the beats. Oh my god, dude. Rock spitting. He's spitting,
Yeah.
dude. Spitting. I don't know nobody in New York is seeing him right now like that.
Yeah, he been dropping heavy, boy, for the last.
Look, Mr. Me Too, even he agrees too.
He been dropping hard.
Nice. He
Yeah,
said
man.
Stove God and Rock. Oh yeah, okay. Look, it's just what you was talking about, man. It's just like there's a mainstream and then there's a under. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And the under is where the shit pop off.
Hmm. But that's what made
That's always
that's
been where it's popped off.
but that's what made Wu Tang so monumental because really Wu Tang is an underground group. They're not a mainstream group.
Nah,
You know what I'm saying? But they shit was so unique that it just bust through. That you
now they
just
broke mainstream. Yeah, they broke
yeah,
that shit.
it just was too, you know what I'm saying? I was watching Ice-T say something about um when he first saw Wu-Tang and he was saying when Method Man was like the smoke from my lyrical blunt make me and he was just like, oh my god, that shit was so dope. He was like, yo, like what the you know what I'm saying? Like he West Coast, but he know who he is. So it's like he's like, man, nah, he was like, yo, them cats hit, man, yo, that was different, man. Like for real. Like so it was just like, man, like, I remember to this day, man, like I had seen a video, I seen the Method Man video. I
Mhm.
was like, man, this kind of fly. And then, for Christmas, 93, my cousin, rest in peace to her, she got me the 36 Chambers tape for Christmas.
Oh
So
shit.
I don't even know why to this day why she bought me that tape. I don't even know why, because it was so like we wasn't around each other like that for her to, and I wasn't even talking about Wu Tang like that because they was just really kind of new on the scene. So, and she bought me that tape, man, and man, I put that joint in, it was over. Like it was a done deal. Like it was like
Done deal.
I was like, yeah, this is different right here. So, but yeah, man, it's like they really just broke through, man. Like like in a way that you ain't really seen outside of like Master P, a few others, man, really broke through, man. But the way I mean, they just came out of nowhere, man. It was just like, and when it hit, when people heard it, was just like boom. It was like it's over with. So across all different spectrums as far as races and stuff like that, because I've been to two Wu Tang concerts, man, here in Austin, man, and I mean, yo, when you see people, man, that could be college professors, man, like going to Wu Tang concerts, man, it's like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Man, hold
they
up.
got it, dog. They got
I'm
it.
gonna
You know what I'm
let me.
saying?
I'm gonna find something. Wait, hold up, dude. Let me find that live stream that Mike did. Hold up. Watch this shit. I told you, man. Like Mike did a live stream on this shit. It was a Black cultural. Let me see here. Wait, no, no,
And I was just watching something today, man. I don't know if I sent it to you, but I didn't know Neil deGrasse Tyson had featured Genius on his show
yeah.
like 6 years ago. I didn't know he was on there. I was like, bruh. And so he was just breaking down like how he was thinking about rhyming and with the dark matter and all that type of stuff, man. He was actually breaking it down to him, and it's just like, wow, like, explaining, rhyme schematics and stuff like that, man. It was pretty
Yeah.
dope, man. It was pretty dope, man.
Check this
So
out. Okay, wait. You see this right here? Y'all see this? Here. I just want to show this to you, but I'm gonna post it, dude. This is episode 590, dude. Hip hop as a science, visualizing the woo. So this is a live stream that Mike did. Here, let me get it. This is a live stream that Mike did, and he covers a study that was done by like a Harvard. He's like some I don't know if he's Harvard, Yale, or some dude basically created an algorithm based on Wu Tang lyrics. Like he was able to like create some sort of cipher out of like the lyrics was, dude. Here, let me just do this. Here's the link. It's right here. Mike covered the shit. Episode 590. There you go. Like there you go, right there.
Hmm.
Yeah. See the one thing about how we do the live streams on the Brain Trust and stuff, and how we sort of catalog everything, it's very easy to recall things based on like say like we're talking right now, and then you're like, oh yeah, Wu-Tang. I'm like, oh shit, you know what? And then boom, there it is, right there,
Hmm.
right? So people be like, well, how the fuck did it? And it's just if you structure your shit and catalog it correctly, you always know where to find some shit. So yeah, there's that one right there where Mike breaks down the whole Wu-Tang cipher. So check it out, bro. We are a little bit past midnight. I told my daughter I would be going till midnight. So it was 12:10. So you want to go ahead and you want to wrap this one up, man? You want to get some final thoughts on this one, man?
Yeah, man. Just a good
Mr. Me's
topic,
way over.
man.
Mr. Me too said hip hop taught me my multiplication. Dead ass. 16s, dude. 3 16s, right? You got a four. So you got 16 bar rhyme structure, got a 4/4 beat count. Yeah. You do the math. Do the math. No, real shit. Do the math. Yep. Go ahead, Raul. You got it.
Yeah, man. Good topic, man. Yeah, I remember being in high school, and I always had my own style, man. So, and it used to be so funny, man. Like it's a weird thing being considered eclectic, man, because I remember cats would be like chirping, because I would get the word from certain people, man, and cats would be trying to act like they were chummy or but be really hating. But the interesting thing about it was that people that was most of the time hating were trying to imitate you at the same time. And it's a weird thing of being eclectic too. It's like people can hate, and then sometimes you'll see the same people hating, like trying to be you too. So for people who march to the beat of their own drum, man, it does take a lot of courage, man, to just be authentically you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing about art. It's one of those things that really um allows you to be you yourself. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
not just art, like museum and music stuff like that, but even when it comes to partaking different cuisines, because food is an art too.
Yep.
You know, and so
We call it the cuisinal arts.
yeah, I mean, like for example, like man, I mean, I love Thai food. I mean, I love it. It's like my favorite, and it just really, especially like when you have a significant other, man, and you're able to experience different foods together. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's a different life experience, man. It just takes you to different places, and so just all to me, just at the end of the day, man, you got one life to live, man. Don't live it confined to boundaries,
Limited.
man.
Don't live it limited.
Yeah, just step outside of those confines of, because ultimately, man, you just letting other people, man, tell you how to live your life, man. So, not to say that, people can't try to help you and, can't try to protect you from danger and stuff like that, man. But at a certain point, man, you just gotta, live life, the best way you see fit, man. People consider you eclectic and out there. So be it, man. There's a lot of a lot of successful people out there who are considered the same, but they chose success instead of listening to what other people had to say about what they viewed them as. So that's all I can leave you out with.
Yeah, I would say that uh, it's one of those things where if you kind of if you don't tell yourself to not pursue things that might be of interest to you, then you will de facto become an eclectic individual. It's an inevitability, right? It's an inevitability, and I would say that um, don't run from that shit. Don't 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 like you know um, don't don't give a fuck about what other people think about your own personal interests, right? They're yours. You don't even have to like put them out there for public consumption. You could just literally keep them to yourself, and they can just be yours. And what happens is that there's just going to be things that you will gain from that, even if you're not putting that shit out there. People are still going to get that from you. Like I said, it's going to permeate. It extends outward. Style of dress, music, film content, things you consume. Shit, we were just talking about food. We got to do that food live stream. That dude, like, okay, in this month we're gonna do it. This month, sometime within this month in March, we're gonna do that shit. So table that. But food is another, definitely. That's another sort of coagulator, so to speak. Right? Food brings people together. Right? Your taste in food will determine the type of people gets brought together, right? So again, these are things that start internally and then it expresses outwardly. So um, to kind of sum this up, nothing wrong with being eclectic. Absolutely nothing wrong. If other people have a problem with you being eclectic, tell them to go fuck themselves. In a nutshell, right? There's nothing wrong with being eclectic. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and ask that you all hit the like button if you haven't. Um, Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this content if you feel so inclined to do so with people that would dig this type of stuff. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.